Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we are unpacking a truly fascinating biological mystery from our source material. It's one that reveals how some of our absolute most cutting-edge human engineering is, well, in reality, merely copying ancient, perfect designs found right outside in nature. We're going to explore how looking really closely at the natural world is completely revolutionizing human technology.
So let's just dive right into this. I want you to picture a blue Morpho butterfly. If you've ever actually seen one in real life or on video, you know it shines brilliantly. It reflects this mesmerizing, iridescent blue that you can literally spot from hundreds of meters away. It's incredibly vivid. And naturally, when you're looking at something that striking, you have to ask yourself what is actually creating that vibrant, piercing color.
Well, get ready for this, because there are absolutely no chemical pigments involved in that butterfly's wings. None. There's no paint, there's no dye, no chemical compound whatsoever making it blue. The color you're seeing, it's entirely an optical illusion created by microscopic structures. It's this brilliant trick of the light, engineered on a scale so tiny we can barely even comprehend it. To really wrap our heads around how mind-blowing this is, we need to compare how we normally see color versus what's happening on those wings. You see, most of the colors we're familiar with in our everyday lives come from chemical pigments. Think about the carotene that makes a carrot orange, or the chlorophyll giving leaves their green hue. But structural colors are an entirely different beast. Some creatures use this system to manipulate light itself. They use nanostructures to reflect only specific wavelengths without a single drop of chemical pigment. Now, the big secret behind this whole phenomenon is something called photonic crystals. Basically, these are highly ordered, incredibly tiny nanostructures that essentially act as microscopic traffic cops for light. They guide it, they slow it down, and they manipulate it to create these unbelievable, vibrant colors. And honestly, the most shocking part? This is a secret biological nanotechnology that the human scientific world was completely, totally oblivious to until the early 2000s.
But here's the thing, once we finally opened our eyes to this, we started finding it everywhere. Researchers over at the University of Sydney first discovered these photonic crystals in a marine creature called the sea mouse, but they didn't stop there. Once they actually knew what to look for, they quickly found these structures hiding in plain sight across a massive array of creatures. We're talking everything from the dazzling feathers of peacocks to the wings of butterflies, insect shells, and even the translucent bodies of jellyfish.
The sheer scale of this biological engineering is just staggering. Experts in the field, like Dr. Vinod Saranathan at Yale University, have pointed out the absolute incredible diversity of these systems. As he noted, insects alone possess a wide variety of these nanostructures that produce color. We are talking about microscopic architectures of immense complexity. They vary from species to species, and all of them are perfectly adapted to manipulate light. And that brings us to Section 1, the science of biomimicry, copying nature's blueprints. So, the moment researchers realized what they were looking at, human engineering immediately shifted gears to replicate these biological masterpieces. Let's look at a concrete example of this in action. Professor Tongxing Fan examined the darkest parts of butterfly wings. He wanted to figure out how these specific structures perfectly absorb sunlight while reflecting almost nothing. By studying this art of blackness, his team was actually able to mold butterfly wing nanostructures to create highly efficient solar collectors. They literally revolutionized human solar panel efficiency by just copying a butterfly. And man, this brilliantly illustrates a much wider trend, because universities all over the world are now racing to copy nature. Take the gecko. First, scientists studied the microscopic hairs on a gecko's foot. Then, Stanford University used that exact same mechanism to build robots capable of climbing sheer, flat walls. Building right off of that, the University of Massachusetts developed a device with zero adhesive, no glue whatsoever, that can carry 300 kilograms. All of that inspired entirely by the gecko's natural grip. But it goes even further, right into advanced optics and stealth. Over at the University of California, Professor Robert Korn is actively researching the microscopic structures found right on the surface of a moth's eye. See, these structures are inherently anti-reflective. They allow moths to see in the dark without light glinting off their eyes and giving away their position to predators. Human engineers are now directly mimicking these precise nanostructures to create better anti-reflective coatings for our own high-tech devices. All right, moving to our next core theme, Section 2, Human Effort versus Nature's Perfection. How do our absolute greatest human engineering efforts actually stack up against these ancient biological systems?
Well, when we put them side by side, the contrast is pretty eye-opening. When humans want to create color, we manufacture paints and dyes that, let's face it, inevitably fade over time. When we build solar panels, we are constantly struggling, tweaking, and playing catch-up just to improve their efficiency by a tiny few percentage points. Meanwhile, nature's structural colors are eternal. They never fade because they are physical structures. And those butterfly wings? They're already utilizing the absolute most efficient solar-absorbing systems imaginable. Which brings us to a deeply humbling realization drawn straight from our source material. We really pride ourselves on our technological advancements, don't we? Yet, nature has been effortlessly operating cutting-edge nanotechnology for millions of years, long before human beings even knew it existed. We're really just now discovering technologies that nature has been utilizing flawlessly since the dawn of time. And this humbling fact sets up a profound philosophical pivot in our explainer. Section 3. Who holds the patent? This raises a really fascinating question about intellectual property and creation itself. Think about it this way. When human engineers invent a new piece of technology, they immediately rush over to the patent office to claim it as their brilliant invention, right? But if we are merely creating biomimetic copies of existing structures, we have to stop and ask ourselves, who exactly holds the patent for the original, perfect blueprints of the butterfly's wing? Or really consider the implications here. We have top-tier university professors copying the moth's eye to improve our cameras and stealth tech. But which brilliant engineer drafted the original schematics for the moth's complex vision system? Who figured out the exact nanostructure required to eliminate reflection before human math even existed? Or back to our gecko. Human scientists worked for years in state-of-the-art facilities just to create a synthetic version of its grip. But what primeval laboratory produced a biological foot that can hold hundreds of kilograms without a single drop of chemical glue? Our source text points out this profound irony in our scientific journey. We act incredibly surprised with every new biological discovery. We throw a parade, we celebrate our new findings in academic journals and front-page headlines. Yet these flawless nanotechnologies have always been there, quietly operating in absolute perfection, completely independent of human awareness or intervention. And that is exactly why the source material we're exploring today concludes with a profound theological reflection on this very question. Quoting Surah An-Naml, Ayat 88, it highlights the work of Allah who has perfected everything. The text argues that ultimately, as we uncover these flawless nanostructures, from the eternal colors of butterfly wings to the mind-bending physics of gecko hairs, we are simply witnessing the flawless artistry of a creator who perfected everything long before human engineering even began. So whether you look at it through the lens of science, philosophy, or faith, it leaves us with one incredibly provocative question. Next time we invent a groundbreaking new technology, are we actually inventing anything at all? Or are we just finally learning to read the blueprints that were perfectly drawn up long before us?